keyboard to the boardroom. This is the Business of Esports. As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more. From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports weekly news show / post-podcast live stream. I am Paul Dawalibi. I'm joined today by my friends and co-hosts, the Honorable Judge Jimmy Baratta, Jeff the Juice Cohen, Lindsay the Boss Poss. For those of you who are new here, welcome. What we do is we cover the most pressing gaming and esports stories and news of the week, but we look at all of it through a business and C-suite lens. And the best of all, on the live stream, we get to do it live with you guys. You get to ask us questions, get in our faces, challenge us. We appreciate it. We expect it. We encourage it. We know so many of you lurk, and that's fine too. Just want to watch. But we encourage everyone to get involved because that's what makes it so much more fun for all of us. How is everyone doing this week?
This week, I'm full of excitement because we're going to PAX East tomorrow. I'm super pumped. It's going to be a lot of fun. If anyone out there is going, make sure you find us and say hi and tell us all how great we are. And if you have mean things to say, stay away from me because my heart can't handle it.
That's it. If you have mean things to say, you say it to me. I'll
yeah. The prophet can handle it.
But that is right. It's going to be the first time. We're all back together in a while, which will be fun. And at PAX is always a good time. So I'm curious if any of our listeners, viewers, guys who are tuned in right now, if anyone's going to PAX. I'm obviously curious if anyone's going to be there, but it should definitely be fun. Jeff, are you prepared for the newfound stardom of being the Juice, since your last PAX?
It's gonna be tough. I mean, 2 years ago at PAX is actually when I met the Prophet and Lindsay, as a matter of fact, and at that point was just a long-time listener. So made the transition from listener to host. So you never know. Come up, say hi. You might be the next Juice, if you will. Anything is possible.
Adam says, happy Wednesday, all. Adam, welcome. So we love having you. It's so great to see you in here. Greg says, I'm going. Greg, I know for such a short period of time, though. Adam says, can't wait for PAX. I will do some light stalking of the BOE team. Adam, that's cool. But please don't. You can just come up. There's no need to stalk. Tom says, I wish I was going. It will be a great time. Tom, we wish you were going as well. It would be so much more fun. We will have to do some kind of viewer thing at a future. I mean, I don't want to give away too much, but I will say we aren't ignoring the live event space at Business of Esports. We are not. We're biding our time. There's things in the works. I can't say too much. Jimmy can't say too much, but there are big things happening there, and I hope when that day comes, all of you guys who are here and have been supporters, some of you from the very beginning, will be able to go to this. So the live event space is really interesting. Guys, we have so much to talk about this week. Can I just tease the podcast quickly? We had Rob Moore, who is the CEO of the Sentinels esports organization, and Riley Jameson, who's their vice president of marketing, on the show. So all about Sentinels this week. We talked about Booga and their big moment with him at the Fortnite World Cup. We talked about their Valorant team, winning, which was unusual for a North American team in any first-person shooter. How they create drama on purpose, which is interesting. Their whole sort of marketing strategy. Jimmy, sorry, jump in if you wanted to.
Sure. I mean, to me, and again, it's always hard to tease you guys with just enough without giving away too much. To me, I think if you're an up and coming brand, if you're into marketing, brand building, not just running orgs and finding out what's working for them as far as successful business verticals, but just growing a brand, right? Like literally from nothing to one of the most recognized teams in all of esports and gaming. Just really awesome insight on how they were able to spin things to their advantage and on how they approach, I think, orgs on Paul's. I love it because you ask all of our orgs, right? From hoodie org to top tier competitor, where do you land? And great episode. You absolutely cannot miss this one, which I feel like are most of the episodes these days. So kudos to us, I guess, for getting these great guests, and kudos to you guys for listening, for wanting the content, asking for more, and making sure that it keeps getting better.
I will say also, guys, we're going to do a live episode at PAX, but it won't come out right away. So definitely stay tuned for that. We have a whole panel of very cool guests, including our very own The Juice, who's going to be on that panel live from PAX. But there's gonna be a fun panel at PAX, which we will release as a separate episode at some point. I'm not sure when that's going to be, but we'll definitely let you guys know. Matt says Facebook chat isn't working, but don't worry, guys, I'm here, Matt. You know how much I love having you here. All right, guys, let's jump into some news. Let's talk about some gaming and esports news. And I want to start with maybe not the most obvious story this week, but one that I don't know why this stood out for me or why this, why I want this to go first, but maybe you guys will have some thoughts on this. And the headline here, this is from .esports. The headline is NIANTIC reveals AR virtual pet game Peridot. So NIANTIC, it says, always working on new projects, whether that's, updates for existing games like Pokemon Go, Ingress. But now they've announced that they're developing an entirely new game, and it's their take on virtual pets. It's obviously an AR mobile game, which is the kind of game that they do. It'll have ancient one of a kind creatures known as Peridots, and you'll have to care for them, raise them, breed them, and obviously they will interact with the world you live in. Very much like this very much felt like Tamagotchi. For those of you who are old enough to remember, which I thought was interesting, and I also thought this was interesting in the context of them shutting down their Harry Potter game, basically, right? That was dead in the water. I'm curious, what do you think of NIANTIC's announcement here? Do you love this? Do you hate this? And there's a bigger question around, is nostalgia basically the only thing that sells these days? It feels like everything is some play off of something nostalgic at this point. And I don't know if I'm just being too harsh. Would love thoughts on that. Lindsay, I saw you shaking your head. Maybe you jump in here.
Well, I liked this right away because the Peridot is my birthstone. So it was immediately appealing for me for that. But no, I don't see this really as a nostalgia play. I disagree with you a little bit there because these types of games have been a category all their own. Neopets was a thing when I was young. There's always been, and even like Sims to a degree is a kind of different style of that same like build an environment, raise a thing in that environment, take care of it, blah, 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 whatever. So I don't see this as like a direct rip on trying to get older folks to adapt. I see this as the next iteration of a game that's kind of been around for generations. So I don't know that it's necessarily nostalgia so much as it is like, I don't know, a new take on an old win or an old, I don't know, old game or whatever. I think that the only way this becomes like a smash hit is if it kind of and it's kind of a silly thing to say, but bear with me, but if it goes viral. Like, I don't think that there is this does medium well. This is a lukewarm game. I think either they release it and it like just smashes out of the park and everyone buys it like Tamagotchis or like Neopets, or nobody buys it and they sunset it in a couple years, like a lot of the other take care of this item game. And that I also don't know that this is we're going to be playing this for 10 years game. I think Niantic is really good at we're going to be playing this for 16 months game, as Pokemon Go showed. So while these types of games excite me because they attract like my type of style of game, I think that this is a very binary kind of success outcome, and that's a big risk to take.
It's an interesting thought, right? That binary outcome. Let me push a bit in the sense that, like, what have we moved past this genre of game, right? Like, who's the target market for this? I guess, like, if you guys put your Niantic, marketing person hat on, who are they trying to bring into the fold with this game? Is it 12-year-olds? Is it 20-year-olds? Is it 12 to 80-year-olds? Like what? And more male, more female. What are we thinking is the target market for Niantic with something like this?
I think it's got to be like the TikTok generation. I don't think this is like an older person type nostalgia play. Like, I don't think you're going to see a bunch of 60-year-old women walking around like ARing their pets. But I do think you could see, and I know Lindsay's analysis was pretty awesome in terms of like that this could be a very binary approach, like we often see with things that have a lot of network effects and virality. Like, I don't think this is going to be either like a medium-sized game. I think Lindsay's right. It's one way or the other. I don't have a guess which way it'll go. Definitely, I'm not in the demographic. Curious what Jimmy thinks.
I'm also curious what our chat thinks in terms of like, would you play this? Would you try this? And is it more interesting than Harry Potter, right? Like, I just feel like there's no
demographic either.
Well, Kevin says Nintendogs, which we all forgot about in the context of this conversation. But yeah, there's been successes here and there. Jimmy, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this before we move on.
Yeah, to me, it seems like something that's going to skew younger and that's going to be more accommodating for girl gamers as well as non-binary gamers. I don't think it's going to be heavily or male only, as a lot of gaming we see is. What excites me about this is what we've seen Niantic do with their other game catalog and how popular they've been able to make this AR augmented reality kind of seem and be. This game to me is going to hinge on what you can do with this pet. Because if it's just a pure Tamagotchi, you're going to get sick of taking care of it real fast. But if there's a competitive element like Pokemon, if there is something where it's gamified, where the pet levels up and unlocks additional features, you can use it in Snapchat, you can use it in other games or other social media, where it's not just, okay, let's take a picture together and I'm going to put my pet on your shoulder and I can see it and it's funny and we can post that will get old quickly, right? So there has to be something more to it, like how the Pokemon game, you can catch them, find them in certain locations, fight with them, etc. So I'm just waiting to see what that next thing is. But on its face, it looks very interesting. And yes, you'll get a lot of downloads just for nostalgia alone, or just to try out the new technology and see what they're capable of. But unless they have something to really level up the experience, it will, I think that Lindsay's term was sunset. It will die quickly. So I'm hoping they have something.
What was the lifespan of Tamagotchi? I mean, really, it was probably like 12 to 18 months where it was just red hot, and then they all ended up in cupboards. And I think you're targeting here like the most cynical, jaded generation of all time that has the smallest attention span of all time. And it's just difficult, right? Like, it's for the same reason I think MMOs are difficult to get right these days. There are certain genres that just don't create any kind of wow factor anymore, because it's a little bit of like, well, I've seen this, I've done this, been there, done that kind of thing. And I don't know if this genre has enough sort of like newness appeal to really go viral, to use the term Lindsay used here. So let me just read some of these comments. Adam says, I feel like this seems like something I would try once and never play again. I mean, probably most people here, I think,
That's
share
kind of
this
like their
sentiment.
thing, though. Like
Yeah.
try it for a little bit.
Kevin says you got to remember that new phones have this tech already included, so the market could hit a lot of kids virally and accessibly. No question that Niantic, I think, is always very accessible in terms of bringing their games to market. There's, all you really need is a phone. Angie says, I'm Peridot too, Lindsay. There. Well, there's that. Although I thought the name was maybe the most problematic, because isn't there a very well-known mobile game called Dots? And they're calling these things dots for short. So Peridot, but it's dots for short. I just thought there's some legal probably issue there, I would think.
That's 2 dots. It's different.
Oh, I'm sorry. Greg says, will it be play to earn?
Play and earn, Greg.
Play and earn, yeah. No, play and own, right? Probably. Not.
Yeah.
We want to get
really
really
Axie then. I mean, isn't Axie basically that? It's like virtual pets and you own them.
I don't know. Although we did talk about
Basically
Axie
what
on this
Axie
week's
is, yeah.
episode of Meta Business, which everyone should go subscribe to, and Meta Woman, which everyone should go subscribe to. But I mean, I'm pretty sure, Angie says, and a cryptocurrency. I'm pretty sure this already exists. There's plenty of like pet collecting games in that play to earn world. The reason no one talks about them is because they're probably not very good games, but they definitely exist. Guys, I want to move on. Let's talk about Xbox. Microsoft in the news. We started with something a little bit light. I want to get into some really kind of deep stuff here. Maybe industry changing news. And this is from Microsoft and Xbox. And the headline here is Microsoft reportedly wants to bring ads to free-to-play Xbox games. It says here the ads supposedly wouldn't disrupt gameplay. So Microsoft working on a program that will let brands showcase ads within free-to-play Xbox games, according to this report. And they won't disrupt, but they may appear on a billboard in a racing game. That's the example they use here. Sources also have said that Microsoft doesn't intend to take a cut of ad revenue, and instead will allow the game developer and advertising company to share the funds. So Microsoft is hands off on any revenue here, which is also an interesting point. And the idea, according to them, is Microsoft wants to attract more developers of free-to-play games to their platform, and it won't use the data it collects to make the ads targeted. So no targeted advertising here. So what does everyone think of in-game ads for free-to-play games from Microsoft and Xbox? This could be, this could be game-changing. I think could be really monumental from an industry standpoint. But Jeff, maybe start with you. Do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I love this. I really do. Because I think games cost a lot of money to make, particularly good ones. Businesses are in the business of making money, so they're going to charge you. And if the game is free to play, there will be monetization in it. And even if it's in a subscription like Xbox Game Pass, at some point, I think unless they really want to raise the subscription price, there's only so much content they can put into that subscription before they have to start figuring out another way to monetize. So if they can put ads into the games in a way that they're supposedly saying isn't going to disrupt gameplay, like that seems to be a win-win for everybody, right? Like, what do you care when you drive on the highway and there's a billboard as you drive by? 90% of people don't even notice it, but guess what? It's there, and it's helping support this entire ecosystem. So I don't know. I'm sure gamers are going to get outraged about this because gamers get outraged about everything. But to me, this feels sort of like a win-win. Like I just don't know why you would get upset about this if you're a gamer.
Anyone? I'm curious. Is anyone upset about this? Anyone in chat or Jimmy or Lindsay? Did this upset either of you?
The only thing that upset me about this is that Microsoft's not taking a cut of the ads. Like, what a brilliant thing to allow. And this is probably the first announcement from an Activision Blizzard related company that we've seen that's not taking a cut, right? Like, and obviously that's because of the acquisition, and it's kind of a reverse joke, I guess. Maybe it was funnier in my head, right? Because Activision has their hands in everything that they do and tries to squeeze every little penny out of everything. But now that it's a Microsoft company, it's like, no, we're going to let you guys make money, to Jeff's point, make this a better ecosystem, a better game, offer things where the user doesn't pay for it. And Microsoft's not touching it. The other thing I don't like is that the ads aren't targeted. Targeted ads are a good thing. It means there's something of relevance there. I don't want to see an ad for something I don't care about. If I have to see an ad, show me something I want to buy. Tell me what I need to buy. That's the point of the ad. I'm here to be sold. My money is yours. I will say I've worked with some awesome developers in the past, and they had an amazing ability to overlay digital environments in top games like Fortnite, like Valorant, with sponsor logos. So you're walking around one of these worlds in game, and you can see a billboard with a company. You can see one of the houses that's always in the game, but the side of it has a logo on it. It was a really cool technology. Didn't take away from the game. And to Jeff's point, it's the same thing as driving past a billboard that you might not have noticed, but there's value there to the advertiser. So I love this. I think we need more of this.
None of you, hold on, no one, I'm shocked that no one has said maybe this is a slippery slope that we don't want to go down. That yes, today, as described, seems like a win-win, right? Adam says absolutely a win-win if it truly is non-invasive to the gaming experience. I think everyone agrees, right? But no one sees this as a slippery slope where today it's non-invasive and then it's on loading screens, and then it's on every building in the environment you're in, and then it's on items in game, and then like eventually everything is just some piece of embedded advertising to the point where you're just bombarded with it. And maybe at some point it's not just free to play games. It's now games that you paid money for, the $50 or $60 or $70 game. While we throw some ads in there too, because people have got used to it for the last 2 or 3 years. No one sees this as potentially a slippery slope.
We already see it on pay and on for pay. I don't know what you call it, but games that cost money. You look at the Madden, you look at FIFA, you look at 2K. They do, I think, the best job of integrating ads like this, and really, it's more branded integration on a game that you pay $60 for, and then I load up my character. If he's low on health and he's fatigued, there's a little Gatorade logo next to his name. If you're watching him on the court, on the pitch, on the field, the border around it has the rotating ad banners, and then the replays also have the ads come on screen with that logo. It's just like watching a real sporting match, except it's on a video game that I've also paid $60 for. And maybe we don't notice it because we're used to it watching traditional sports. But I just feel like they've already done it successfully in a way that people are accustomed to and don't find repulsive. Jeff, I think you wanted to say something too.
No. I mean, I thought you were making an awesome point. I think with sports games, you just get away with it because it actually makes it more authentic. Like it would be weird to play NBA 2K and not see advertisements around the court, because that's just what it is when you see, when you watch normal sports. So that makes total sense. The thing I was going to bring up is like rewarded ads, because actually in mobile games, like there's a lot of data out there that shows that gamers actually really like engaging with mobile rewarded ads. So it's kind of like, hey, I don't want to spend $5 for this sword, but I will watch, a 30-second advertisement, or I will subscribe to Netflix to get this $50, in-game reward, because, that is a thing that gets given out. So what do you guys make of that? Like, do you think that's something we'll see in pay-to-play games? Slash, do you have a problem with that kind of?
Well, isn't that sort of part of the slippery slope I just described?
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with that. That definitely, yes, I think it will happen. I'm saying, is that problematic? Like, I like choice. Good
question. What do you guys think? Like for console specifically here, because we're talking about Xbox, does that do console? Like, you're right, Jeff, that is much more accepted on mobile. If you brought that to console in a big way and a very widespread way, do you get revolt?
I don't know.
Oh, so Lindsay,
no, it's fine. It's hard. This discussion is hard for me because I am such a mobile gamer, and every single game I play is just riddled through and through with ads, and I just really don't care. Like it does not bother me, or I don't think about it whatsoever at this point. So maybe your slippery slope argument has something there, but maybe it's just not that big of a deal either. I don't know. We'll see. And if it is a huge deal, I imagine companies will pivot away from it. There really is a lot of unhappiness. I don't think mobile gamers and game development companies would still keep advertising the way it is.
I have one more thing, Paul, and I know we got some great comments in chat that I'm sure you want to get to. My last point is, I don't really care if you as a consumer, as a user, have a problem with the ads. It is paying for all of this. And if I shove it down your throat enough across all of my games, you're going to have to accept it, because your voice just doesn't matter. Like this is such a powerful money-making opportunity. There are hundreds of millions that can force this into reality. And it's not even a choice, really. It's just whether or not it's as lucrative as we think it's going to be.
I'm scared to hear all of you say this. Like, if I come back to, and I'm such a capitalist, but I come back to, like, is nothing sacred, right? And I see a future where it's like, WoW decides to go free to play, and instead of picking up a potion of this or whatever, like now I'm picking up a Pepsi from the tavern, right? Like sponsored by Pepsi, and I just feel like we're damning an entire generation of gamers to this like future of just ads everywhere in every part of the game if we even allow this sort of this first step down this slippery slope to happen.
To your point, is nothing sacred. You can't take photographs in the Sistine Chapel. Why? Because a Japanese television company paid for the renovation and now bans photography in the Sistine Chapel. You have to buy their cards and their images. So no, literally nothing is sacred.
Nothing is sacred.
I never knew that.
Tom says targeting is important to be able to sell the ads. Yeah, you would think Microsoft allowing the ads to be better targeted with their data would make sense, but I don't know why they made that decision. Privacy issues, I guess, and also targeted ads can be annoying, right? I mentioned one thing that Alexa hears me say, and every ad I see for the next like 6 months is this one thing that I probably even bought 6 months ago. Angie says it depends on how native they are. In games that include backgrounds, that would be weird not to see billboards, okay, but otherwise it doesn't work. Yeah, but I come back to, it's a great point, Angie. But, I think it was you, Jimmy, who mentioned it. There are companies putting, billboards on the side of a building in CSGO. That does ruin the immersion, right? Like a burned out building in a town that is supposedly the scene of some terrorist incursion, right? Should probably not have some pristine, like, again, I don't know, Pepsi ads. I don't know why I'm targeting Pepsi here, but Pepsi advertisement all over it. I don't know. I could see how there is a fine line with all this, and I suspect we're going to get a lot of hate because people will be crossing this line, right? Or they won't know where the line is at first, especially. And I suspect there's going to be a lot of backlash early on. Tom says, I remember KFC and Crazy Taxi. It was fun. Well, I guess if it fits, to Angie's point, that's okay.
I had a good interview with a woman from frameplay.gg who talked a lot about intrinsic advertising and finding those ways where it's more of a natural fit and it makes sense within games. So there's a way to do it. It's not all going to be like, you're not going to be picking up a Pepsi at the tavern in League of Legends.
That's what I worry about. That's what keeps me up at night. Okay.
Yeah, picking up a Budweiser in the
successful
tavern.
snowball argument examples. Won't go there.
No, it wouldn't.
Who cares? That's beer. Tavern.
Depends on the game, right? Like Sea of Thieves, you can drink from your tankard on the ship and get your pirate a little tipsy, and yeah, that could have a keg with, I don't know, what was around back then. Sam Adams was probably just getting started. Something,
Doesn't work. Greg says, aren't loading screens the best location for ads? It's like TV commercials. They're there, but you don't really see them. Agreed. The problem is, I think most, including Xbox, with all the new consoles, are trying to get rid of loading screens. But this is a big sort of push with the new consoles and their ultra fast storage is the loading screens go away. So you lose all this ad inventory in that way also. Adam says, we were told the Flash would fade the Sistine Chapel when I visited. Life is a lie. Jimmy with the insider knowledge.
Google it. It's a crazy story.
I didn't know that either. So it is interesting. All right, guys. Any other thoughts on Microsoft before we move on here? I want to talk about Apple. Apple making maybe a huge move in the gaming space here. I don't know how much you guys are going to sort of take from this and draw some conclusions. But the headline here is Apple patents mobile gaming controllers for the iPhone and iPad. And I'll just show them here. I'll try and describe them because for those of you who are listening after the fact, after this is no longer live. So I'm putting up on screen here a couple of images of different user interfaces and devices that would attach to an iPhone, to an iPad. I don't know why this is going by so quickly. Let me pause it. So you can sort of see little, I would best describe them as Nintendo Switch style controllers attaching what seems like magnetically, I don't know. It's not clear from the image here, but seems magnetically to the sides of an iPhone in both horizontal and portrait, like landscape and portrait, and to the sides of an iPad in portrait mode also. There's also figures of what seems like a Nintendo, like Super Nintendo style controller that flips out from the bottom or connects to the bottom of an iPhone horizontally and can be used essentially as a D-pad, analog controller, etc. Now, I assume these are all magnetically attached. That would be in line with Apple's sort of existing tech. But what the article here is saying is this is Apple, planning to make a bigger splash in mobile gaming. Obviously, a lot of people game on their iPhone. I'm curious what you guys make of these controller and these patent applications, which gives us a glimpse into maybe future products from Apple. But more specifically, I'd love if you could comment on how big of a threat do you think this is to something like a Nintendo Switch or a Steam Deck? Jeff, you have thoughts on this?
I don't think, like we always kind of come back to with the Switch, the Switch is all about Nintendo IP. So I don't think it's any way competitive or a threat to the Switch. Steam Deck, probably still no, because I think people were buying Steam Deck to play their kind of Steam library of PC games, and that's a little different than what you're going to play on the iPhone. But it's interesting. I see this as more of like a hardware play versus like some big revolutionary change of Apple. Like, hey, they're going to go buy like EA or Take-Two or something. Like they're going to like really get bigger in developing and publishing AAA content. I think it's much more of just like a hardware patent. We are seeing a lot more mobile FPSs, mobile games that are sort of higher fidelity. So games you might want to use a controller with. Mobile esports becoming a much bigger thing, much to Paul's chagrin. So I think it's them leaning into that and just putting a patent out there. Maybe they'll end up just licensing it out and to third party hardware providers that end up making the stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's like a huge thing in my mind.
You said something there that I think is interesting. Do you think this won't be a first party Apple device at some point?
That was just my guess. I don't know what they normally do with hardware. It was just a complete guess.
Lindsay, any thoughts on this?
I hadn't seen the iPad, or I hadn't scrolled far enough to see the iPad schematic in this before, and that made me laugh.
But I thought that was the most interesting one.
With the iPad.
But if they're attached securely enough, in some ways that makes the iPad a really interesting potential mobile gaming device.
Yeah, for you who likes 3,000 screens, I can't imagine it's standing on the metro and my little iPad up.
Okay.
Anyways, Apple products are always interesting for me because they have such a cult following, so many network effects for a hardware company. It's unbelievable. They tend to really make products that their audience loves. The AirPods alone sold more than a lot of extremely large companies last year. So if they're going to make a product, they're probably going to immediately have a huge audience to use said product. I don't know that that audience is going to necessarily compete with Switch or Steam Deck in the same way, because people will buy an Apple product because it's an Apple product, not because they are intentionally buying it to improve their gaming ability. So I don't necessarily think it will take away from other things, but that being said, I do think it will be a hit no matter what, because it's Apple.
I mean, sorry, go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I mean, Lindsay hit it on its head with that statement that because it's Apple, it'll be a hit. And that's also what annoys me about this. Like, I don't see it as a competitor to anyone other than someone like the Razer Kishi or those Bluetooth cheap, add-ons that Android phones use so well. I just can't remember the last time Apple truly innovated something new, because that used to be what they were known for, like the iPhone and the iPad. And you have like the HomePod, which wasn't really an innovation because Alexa and Google had theirs already out. You had the AirPods, which, okay, like we already had, Bluetooth headphones. You have this, which I'm not impressed by a lot of these. I've been wanting Apple to come out with this for years. It's like, what took them so long? That's my question when I see the story. It's finally, what took them so long to file for these patents and to start making something when Apple's had a pretty robust game store, especially because a lot of these games were limited. There wasn't a lot of crossover between Apple games and PC games. So they really put a lot of effort, I thought, into that. I remember, when you'd get your new Apple laptop and trying to find what games were compatible and just going crazy, as a gamer, really going crazy and snatching up all the ones I could play. So I know I'm just not impressed by this. It's like several years too late, but unfortunately it will still do very, very well.
I don't know what's up with the last few weeks. I just think you're all totally wrong on this, like totally wrong. Let me just, I don't know. I can't believe I'm about to be the one defending mobile gaming here, but let me just read these comments first. 4X Esports says, more than impacting other handheld consoles, I see this affecting the iPhone peripheral manufacturers. Yeah, I mean, it's a great point, but Apple has never cared about, putting someone out of business with a first party accessory that copies some accessory that did the same thing before, right? Like, if they feel they can make money, they will have no problem cutting out their own peripheral manufacturers with a first party accessory. 4X Esports also says, what we may see if hidden in this patent something more innovative, as this could be designed to shroud core features of a new product, or maybe they just want to use this to thwart add-on manufacturers. Yeah, also a great point, 4X. No way of knowing the purpose behind, or the thought process behind these patent applications. It could be just there's nothing specific planned and they're just protecting themselves so that, they can charge licensing fees to add-on manufacturers at some point. It could be that they have very specific plans and we just don't know about them yet. Like, impossible to conclude just from a patent filing what they actually want to do. I'm going to push back, Jimmy, on what you said a little bit, which is Apple has never been about innovating brand new products. What they've always been about is taking something that's been out for a couple of years and making it a lot easier and a lot better, right? And more refining products, never at the bleeding edge, right? Like Samsung did foldable phones. When we see a foldable phone from Apple, it'll never be day one. It'll always be once the technology is more refined and once the product experience is up to Apple levels. This to me is totally in line with that. And when I look at this, I go, wow, just at face value from the drawings, this seems a lot better than what's out there, or at least somewhat better than what's out there. These clunky things, that only have one connector. You got to stretch it out. If you have a slightly big phone, it doesn't work. If you have an Apple phone and your thing has a USB-C connector, well, you can't use it, right? This feels like if they're magnetic, they attach on, everything just works. I mean, this is the Apple playbook to a T. And I double down by saying Apple gets who they are and gets their audience. And these drawings point to more casual games, right? And ease of use around casual games. And you pair that with Apple Arcade. Like, I could see a world where you buy these magnetic controllers it's $100 and it comes with a month free of Apple Arcade, right? It's this kind of ecosystem integration that makes me believe if they do come out with something like this, it will be massively successful, not just because it's Apple, but because it's a good product tied to good software and a good user experience. And that's no accident. And I have a funny feeling all the other peripheral manufacturers should be worried that if Apple decides to go this way, because the product will be better. I love the potential for Apple to be, call it the third biggest console platform, or if not the first biggest console platform, really, if you want to think about it that way. Because I also think, like I said, they understand their target demographic. They're not trying to do mobile esports. They're all about, Apple Arcade, high quality experiences. And I like that purity of vision, if you want to call it that. Wow, I can't believe I'm the guy that defended mobile gaming here. Gonna need a story to rinse myself off here. Can we talk about the Chinese quickly before we do? I do have a lightning round set up for today, guys, so that should be fun. But I want to do a quick couple of Tencent stories because it's something we've been following. And the first story here is Nemo TV shuts global operations amidst Chinese sanctions. So this is a streaming platform owned by Huya, which is owned by Tencent. And they're having to shut down their operations, which are primarily in Brazil. Brazil's like the biggest market for Nemo TV. But basically what's happened is Huya, it says, has suffered several sanctions from the Chinese government, which include limiting gaming or streaming time, which we knew. But they so Tencent cut off funding to Huya's global project, Nemo TV. So Nemo TV will be shutting down. Unfortunately, it's going to affect 200 employees, streamers, staff members, etc., just in Brazil, it says. And this was the birthplace of famous local streamers and organizations like Loud, is what they're saying. I've never personally used Nemo TV, but evidently it was very popular in Brazil. Do you guys remember when we talked about the Tencent story? I think it was last week. We said there were probably going to be more shutdowns. Interesting that Tencent's basically cutting off funding to a global play. Any thoughts on this? Jimmy, maybe start with you. I don't know if you have thoughts on this. I'm going to put this next to another Tencent story, but I want your comments on this first.
Yeah, I mean, last week we did talk about it. I think that was the prediction that there would be more coming. I remember saying when things were scaled back and businesses were resuming operations, great, it's nice growth, all that good stuff, but it's still China and it's still just, there's no assurances there. There's no security there if you're a business. Why would they shut down a streaming platform in such a popular market? As North Americans, I think we're NA centric, right? We think about North American esports and businesses, rarely thinking about, we're big fans of what the Middle East is doing here. I'm personally a big fan of what Brazil's doing in this space in South America in general. And obviously the default is to also go to Southeast Asia. Esports is a global business, right? We talk about it all the time with team models. Teams should be global businesses. These are not geographic, or rather, these are not restricted to geographic regions. These are brands that have identities and people that relate or don't relate. So, I mean, I think part of the guess with Tencent in last week was maybe they're redirecting or consolidating, or right, because they have a lot of properties that seemingly compete with other properties that they own. But with China, it's always hard because you don't know what the deeper story is and what isn't being told, right? And I feel like there's a lot of that here. I would personally would not have scaled back from my Brazilian operations.
Is Trovo the next victim maybe then? If you're going to cut off funding to a Nemo TV, why not a Trovo?
I mean, in the talks that I hope I'm not saying too much here. In the talks that you and I have had with Trovo, we were really impressed, I thought, by their 5-year vision and on what they are doing and positioning themselves to outlast Facebook and YouTube and other competitors in this space. I would say the opposite of that argument is more plausible, and that's that they are taking learnings from their other properties and perhaps reallocating those resources. Though I don't know if that's necessarily the play here. It's just hard to tell.
It seems like a mistake, right, to cut off something in Brazil, but not something in North America, where it feels a little bit like that ship has sailed. Jeff, I don't know if you have thoughts.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It is interesting. I mean, it may be, it's just surprising what Tencent has done in the sense that they created all these competing entities and now they're kind of just killing them off one by one. And maybe that was their plan all along, is to have like a few different contingencies in place, a couple different, bets on the board, and then see which management team was executing the best, and then kind of kill the ones that were falling behind. It's ruthless, but
it's very Darwinian or whatever.
It may actually have been the strategy. But Jimmy's point about Brazil is a great one. I mean, it's a great gaming region. I do think I read somewhere when some people were talking about this, maybe on Twitter, just around how Garena's actual streaming platform had done really well in Brazil. So maybe this one was kind of falling behind, and that may have played a role into why Tencent shut it down. But yeah, it's a bit of a mystery.
Lindsay, are we overthinking this? Is it just that maybe being a streaming platform is really hard? That's it's such a massively competitive space, and unless you have the deepest pockets fully behind you, basically success is impossible. I don't know. Are we overthinking it, or?
It's so hard for me when it's in a non-US based market to tell if that's true or not. Because like when Caffeine went under, it was like, yeah, easy. But with this being a Chinese-owned company in a South American market, I have no clue whether it's, some of the geopolitical issues, some funding issues, it wasn't the best one for the South American market issues. Like I would love to know from someone who's more of an expert in the area. And if anyone in chat is, please, like what the streaming landscape is there before I would feel confident saying that either we are completely overthinking it and this just wasn't a great platform and it went under, or there's something much bigger at play that we don't know about.
Yeah, I want to put this guys up against this other story quickly, which is like Tencent also shutting down this access to what they call foreign unapproved games. So they have this service that allows access to play foreign games, I guess games like on Steam or things like that. And it's a game speed booster app. So according to this article, a lot of the internet connections there are not fast enough to play some of the overseas titles. But I guess these are sort of like VPNs or something like that, glorified VPNs that allow Chinese to play these foreign games at faster speeds and access them. And Tencent is essentially shutting down this loophole. So there will be no way to access foreign games. And, the quote here is, "This is expected given the direction things are going. It is harder to be a gamer in China by the day," a Chinese internet user wrote on Weibo. So, like, no one seems surprised by this, but everyone seems very accepting of this, which I guess there's not much else you can do in China. But is this the last for the? At what point do we just stop doing Tencent and Chinese gaming stories because we write off the whole market? Like, are we close? Jeff, how far are we from that in your mind? Like, put your analyst cap on. At what point do you write off the whole space because of things like this?
It's yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. Hopefully not that close, because it's a huge part of, I think, the longer term growth story, just in terms of it's a massive region of potential gamers that I think the West has always looked at as, hey, these people have a voracious appetite for gaming. If we could get our games in there, boom, it's the next billion people to come into our game. So hopefully that's still an opportunity that's there. I think less so than us not talking about Tencent anymore. We might start talking about them in the context of them getting bigger in the West, which I think is something that we've seen them do a bit over the past year. More investments, obviously they own Supercell, they own Riot, so they're already here in a sense, but I think we're going to see them get even bigger here because they just have so much expertise and development capacity that they're not just going to retreat from the gaming market. They're just going to invest elsewhere, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. You think we're not that far, but I don't know how you build trust anymore, right? And we talked about this a little bit last week. It's even if you come back and they lift all the regulations and they make investments in the U.S. in studios and they pretend that they're hands off. Like, I don't know how you can trust that the whim of the Chinese government and Chinese regulation isn't just around the corner at any moment, and that death isn't around the corner at any moment. That's the fear, right? How do you build that trust back? Guys, I want to get to our lightning round because we have actually a good number of stories. Hang on, let me just read Angie's comment here. Angie says, would this be related to the Chinese time limits in games? Maybe they think smart kids are trying to arbitrage the time limit. I mean, Angie, no doubt this is related. I mean, that's just another piece of regulation which we've talked about, sort of destroying the Chinese gaming market. And clearly people were getting around both limits and access through loopholes like the one Tencent just shut down. So, the more creative gamers in China get, I think the more they're going to crack down in the ways we're seeing. But no question that smart kids were finding all kinds of ways around limits and access. All right. Before I get to the lightning round, everyone's favorite news segment, I just quick word. This live stream, this weekly news show, very generously sponsored by YouGov, which you can see in the corner here. YouGov provides the absolute best data on gamers, games, esports fans around the world. Best of all, it's what they call living data, and we saw this firsthand. If you didn't watch the episode of the weekly news show with Ben Parrow from YouGov, it's the kind of data that gets updated constantly. It's always relevant. It's always actionable. If you're looking to access the gaming audience at all, if you're looking to reach gamers, to invest in the space, to market, to talk to brands, whatever you're doing in and around gaming, you need to be speaking to YouGov first. Their data is incredible, the best in class. Definitely go check out. I will send you guys a link, yougov.com/BOE. We actually have the episode we did with Ben Parrow. We cut out that segment, which talked about the intersection between crypto and gaming, which is a very fascinating topic, obviously. So we have that video up on yougov.com/BOE. Go check it out there. There's also a free white paper that's going to be going up there soon. I don't know if it's up there right now. I don't think it is, but will be up there shortly. So keep checking back for that with a whole bunch of free data on the gaming industry. So yougov.com/BOE. Go show YouGov some love. And if you want to reach them directly, you can reach out to me, to Jimmy, to Jeff, to Lindsay. Any of us will connect you with YouGov directly, happily. So make sure to do that. All right, guys. Let me read Tom's comment here, and then we're going to go do a lightning round. Tom says, you guys always make me smarter. Tomorrow on my 5 a.m. call with NIP COO Jonas Gunderson, talking about my latest project, I can tell him I know about them offering pajamas. I will tell him I heard it here. Tom, I love that. You'll have to get him to send you some pajamas, and then we'll have to bring you on the show at some point to show off the pajamas. All right, guys. I want to do our lightning round. It's everyone's favorite new segment. So let me play the intro. All right, if you're new here, the way this works is dead simple. I've got 5 topics. We're going to go rapid fire in order and then reverse order. Everyone gets 30 seconds each. I may cut you off at 25. I don't know, 30 seconds each to comment on the story after I introduce it. Let's start with the first story here. You guys are going to love that I'm starting with this one. And the headline here is Blizzard is polling interest in NFTs and play-to-earn games. So there was this report that Blizzard had done a poll. In fact, supposedly had done it with YouGov, I think was the original story, around interest in NFTs and play to earn games. And Mike Ybarra, who is, I want to say, the COO at Activision Blizzard, responded, and if you're looking at the screen, you can see it, responded with, no one is doing NFTs, which pretty clear that they don't want anything to do with it, or at least officially that's the line, but shot down any rumors that they were looking at NFTs or play-to-earn games. Jeff, let's start with you. Your 30 seconds starts now.
I love that they were using YouGov. I think that's smart because they're really good at acquiring and analyzing data. So good job on them for picking the right data provider. I don't understand why they had to do a poll on this. It feels like when you're managing via spreadsheet and opinion poll, you're probably doing something wrong in a creative environment. And then I also don't like that this Mike Ybarra just shut it down and said, hey, we're not doing NFTs. Like, NFTs are going to have a place in gaming, and just to come out and say, hey, we're not doing it. I know he thinks he's catering to the gamer audience, but to me, it actually is just closed-minded and kind of like emblematic of how not innovative Blizzard actually is.
Lindsay, I love that take, by the way.
I actually agree with Jeff quite a bit on this, but I will say, I mean, I think that this is a way. I mean, I don't think that they're not looking at play to earn in NFTs. I think that they're doing whatever they need to do internally and looking at these things and deciding, and then they're too big of a company. They have too much of a foot in gaming to not be doing that. However, I also think that they're avoiding the public backlash, which is the thing they really need to do right now, by publicly saying, we're not looking at NFTs. So I think this is a way of playing both sides, and I 100% don't believe him, but I also believe that they want to put their best foot forward in terms of making people happy. And right now that's saying no NFTs.
Jimmy?
Tons of people are doing NFTs, just not necessarily gaming developers. I think it's going to be a massive industry, and we've seen some awesome numbers and some awesome ways that gamers are using NFTs, particularly Dr. Disrespect. And I know Paul doesn't like that anecdote, but it was very successful for his FPS. Yeah, I mean, Blizzard kind of just needs to stay quiet right now and kind of wait for the acquisition, wait for another hit title. This is just a non-story to me. Like, do the game or don't do the game, or announce something cool, but to pull interest in something, there's nothing here that excites me one way or the other.
This one, so let me just correct myself. Mike Ybarra is Blizzard's president, and what I don't understand is why take such a hard stance on something, because the worst case scenario here, and I think all of you sort of alluded to this, is if at some point they do decide to do them, you know this tweet's going to get dug up and they're just going to look bad again and they're going to look silly. Like, why take such a hard public stance? If this rumor comes out, let it come out, right? It's not going to change the way people feel about Activision Blizzard right now, because frankly, that feeling is sort of shot to hell anyway. So I don't know why you would take this firm stance. No gamers are in love with Mike Ybarra because he said this now, right? It's not getting him any cool points with gamers. Let me just read these comments. Adam says there's no chance Activision is not doing NFTs yet. Adam, I agree with you. And especially Blizzard. Hearthstone, WoW, like these are the most ripe places for it. Maybe not now, but they will be. Exactly. That's why he shouldn't be saying this. All right, guys, let's move on. Let's talk about Amazon. This headline here, Amazon launches its first Amazon Kids Plus original mobile game. So for those of you who don't know, Kids Plus is like I don't know if it's like a subscription service, but basically it's a subscription you get with like an Amazon tablet that's designed for kids. So it's designed to be, drop proof and waterproof and stuff like that. Now they're producing their first mobile games for this Amazon Plus Kids subscription, which used to be movies and TV shows and books and other content that you could get. Now games. Jeff, we started with Jeff last time. Jimmy, start with you. What do you think of Amazon Plus Kids or Kids Plus making mobile games?
Makes sense to me. I think a lot of parents, everyone has an Amazon subscription. I think we had talked about Amazon adding some type of upcharge to your Prime subscription, which would come with a game library. And getting it to your kids makes a lot of sense as well, because if the parent has an Amazon subscription and you have free access to these games, you don't have to go paying for Game Pass or other things that are unique and on their own. So adding it where the parents already are as something to service the kids makes a lot of sense. And they got to ride the wave that they've been on.
Lindsay?
Yeah, I don't know that this is like a huge interesting story to me. It's kind of just a thing that Amazon is doing that makes sense to me. Yeah, I don't really have that much to add to Jimmy's point. Everyone has an Amazon account. A lot of people have kids. Seems natural that Amazon would make stuff for kids digitally and IRL.
Are you surprised they're ad free? In the context of should they be putting ads?
I don't know. I need like way more time to think about that
Okay,
question.
well, out of
round.
time. Jeff,
I'll answer the last piece. I don't think it should have ads in it, because I don't think, the age that they're targeting is really the decision maker, and they're also not really old enough to be like sort of pushing the decision maker. So I just think it's more of an annoyance to have the ads in there than it's really doing any good. But yeah, no, I think this is interesting. I mean, Amazon continuing to broaden their approach in gaming and approach new demographics makes sense.
Have you guys ever seen kids playing like any mobile games like on a tablet like this? I'm convinced that the quality or content of the game actually makes no difference. Like you could put the absolute biggest garbage on the screen and the kid's still going to play it, right? If it has cool colors and it's somewhat, repetitive and easy to pick up gameplay, kids are going to play it. I don't know why Amazon would be dedicating development resources to this. Feels a bit misplaced. Now, I don't know if it's the same people who developed Do Re Mi Musical Adventure who, also could be working on making New World better. But there's a bigger prize here, and I don't think it's, the kids with the $70 Amazon tablets. So I don't know. Let me just catch up on some of these comments. Angie says Activision said they wouldn't do mobile either until they announced a $6 billion acquisition of King.
Great point.
It's a great point. And we know they're going to do something here. Like, it's just that tweet is not going to age well at all. Tom says ads aimed at kids. That is a line they won't cross. I can almost guarantee the slippery slope ends with that line being crossed. Does anyone think that line never gets crossed? Because I would not bet on that.
It's
that line
crossed. It's already happened.
That is the prime target for ads. Just look at Saturday morning cartoons. I mean, it's literally 80% ads. All right, guys, let me get our next story queued up here. You guys are going to really like this one. These are last few stories here. The headline here is, Cyberpunk 2077 expansion coming in 2023. So the subheadline, the good news is that it's still coming. The bad news is not for a while yet. So we know Cyberpunk went off the rails. That's what the article says here. But now they've said, and I'll read the quote from CD Projekt joint CEO. He says, "We're fully committed to the Cyberpunk franchise and intend to develop it further." Is this what is the sunk cost fallacy, Jeff? Is this what's at work here? Why would they want to commit to an expansion?
It's tough. I mean, they don't really have a choice, right? In the sense that they need this franchise, because otherwise without it, they're basically a one franchise company, which means you need to be sold effectively. So they need to keep digging on Cyberpunk. And it did sell, I think I saw 18 million units. So there is a player base there that maybe you can re-engage with some DLC content and whatnot. But yeah, no, I do agree with your point to some extent, where maybe these resources would be better spent on just a whole new version of the game, or I don't even know what they've done with the online mode, if they've just completely scrapped that. But yeah, it's
Lindsay?
I saw this and it just I don't know if it hurt my heart in a way that I can't describe, because I just want for CDPR to just be successful and make people happy, and they just can't get it. I don't know what's going on. Like, I think it's fairly easy to dunk on this, but I do want to say, like, I am so sad for all the people that are there and working hard and believe in this game and are just cannot, for whatever reason, get all the pieces together. So this is my brief eulogy or message of support to those folks.
Prayer.
Yeah, prayer. Thank you.
Jimmy, does this come out in 2023?
I mean, do they have a working game in 2023? I would challenge you. I don't know. It's besides the point, honestly. The question is, when was the last expansion that you can remember that saved a franchise? And I've been trying to think of one, and I can't. And I think their best bet would have been to put that money into developing a different game, either a third franchise or Cyberpunk, I don't know, 3158, where all the kinks are worked out. So like Lindsay said, bless them for trying, but it's kind of a lost cause.
I love it. This just feels so off for me. I don't know why they would do this. I think Jeff hit the nail on the head in terms of, well, they don't want to be a one franchise company, but putting resources into Cyberpunk, like, classic, I think, mismanagement of resources. This would have been better off in new IP. Adam says, I feel like they're beating a dead horse at this point. Exactly. This is not going to, guaranteed, if they sold 18 million units, there's not 18 million players at the moment. If they have tens of thousands, I would be surprised. All right, guys, let me load up our second last story here. This one's really for Jimmy on this one. And the headline is, Coachella's coming to Fortnite. Coachella skins and music drop tonight. So Coachella's, this is already passed now, because Coachella is passed, I think, right? Or it's happening now?
We're in between weekend 1 and weekend 2.
So in addition to skins, it says Coachella is also going to do a takeover of the in-game icon radio. So they'll be able to listen to music by over 30 artists from this year's festival lineup while in Fortnite vehicles. And yeah, I mean, that's about it. Coachella and Fortnite coming together. Jimmy, let's start with you.
Absolutely brilliant. And the only reason, or the main reason, I had this very idea 4 years ago. We spent a lot of time and money and resources pairing a video game experience with a mega carnival akin to Coachella. And for one reason or another, we went a different way. And it's about time that something like this is happening. It makes sense that Coachella and everything is opening up again. I want to try it out, not just to buy the skins. I want to feel the carnival experience within the world of Fortnite. That's what people are looking for when they think metaverse.
Lindsay?
I was waiting for the bell.
Yeah, this is, so I don't know if for all of you that listened to the Business of Esports last week, I added a question that was, what is your favorite Fortnite collaboration? And this is my new one.
Really? This one?
Yeah, I really I love music festivals. I'm a big festival goer, and there's something very special about Coachella. Actually, someone asked yesterday, do people even listen to music, or do they just post their outfits? Which is a good point. But I do think that there is a whole kind of trendiness around this event that's really special in a way that New York Fashion Week is special. So I think making this an immersive experience just makes total sense, and I'm a huge fan.
Jeff?
I agree. I mean, I'll cede my time because everyone kind of covered it well. I'll read Chris's comment about Wu-Tang Clan.
Go ahead.
Wu-Tang Clan coming to Fortnite in 2 days. Metaverse for boomer New Yorkers is already here. I like that. Happy to give you my time, Chris.
The concern I have is there proper overlap between target demographic here, right? Is the average Coachella goer also the average Fortnite player? And I'm not convinced, and I'll tell you why. A little bit of an anecdote. I was watching some streamers, and they were talking about Coachella. This was last weekend. Like, hey, are you going to Coachella? These are big name streamers, right? Who would easily get invited to Coachella, the whole red carpet treatment, the whole bit. And they were all sort of laughed at it, like, nah, I'm just going to stay home and play Fortnite, right? Like, I don't know if it's perfect overlap, and And I also, you guys are going to hate me for this, I think Coachella is a little bit on the decline as a brand and as a sort of a pop culture kind of movement or icon. And maybe that's the match. They're two things that are on the decline.
So I was going to jump in and say, I'm not cool enough to opine about Coachella's coolness or not, but I think that the Fortnite demographic and the Fortnite age group is exactly the kind of age group and demographic that wants to go to Coachella, right? They're 13 to 18. They can't go to Coachella yet, but they're watching on social media and looking at those people at
Good
Coachella
point.
saying, wow, I want to go to Coachella.
And one of the questions you always ask, Paul, when we do these collabs, who benefits more? I'd say Coachella benefits more because I agree with you. It's on the decline. Fortnite has that, it does have the name that people like, but it's really about that Fortnite audience and Coachella's ability to tap into that because it's not a direct overlap, but there are strong, I think, inclinations on those users that know Coachella and would like to go.
I'll read some of the comments here, guys. Adam says, as long as the Balenciaga skin is available in Coachella, it's a hit. It's such an ugly skin. None of the Balenciaga skins are nice. Not gonna get me on that one. Angie says, I hope they include the ability to buy festival hair. Agree, Coachella is great. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff to buy. I agree for that. It works. It's all about the outfits, I think Lindsay said. So, that's a good fit. And Adam says, I think this would be an introduction to Coachella for the younger generation to keep it alive longer. I think that's the point Jeff made. So agreed there.
It's also like, Fortnite does this very well. They do the concert thing very well. And now we're taking, instead of one act, you're taking an entire digital festival. So they're kind of testing the waters on something much larger. I guess I'm still making arguments past my time, but you said that before when you brought it up that I was going to love it. And I do.
Okay, I want to, guys. We end always on, I think, the best story, and this one particularly interesting because last week I argued that we hit ultimate gamer bed accessory. Okay,
oh my God,
I'm sure some of these companies are watching and listening to the podcast, listening to the news show, because now. This is not a gamer bed, but this is definitely in the running for ultimate gamer chair. And they've incorporated some things here that I have never seen before. And that's saying something as the foremost gaming chair reviewers anywhere in the world. And so the headline here, you guys are going to laugh when you see this one, is, yes, a gaming shower pod now exists, and we are not kidding. So if you're watching, I don't even know how to describe this. It looks kind of like half an egg with a gaming chair and some retractable monitors inside of it. And I'll just read the details here. It says, with an aim to deliver a peaceful and relaxing gaming experience for gamers, Irish Spring has unveiled a one-of-its-kind gaming shower. Dubbed the Irish Spring nice-smelling gaming shower, it's the world's first product that aims to radically wash away the gaming sector's dirt. The way it works is when gamers are in the thick of battle, this is a quote from the company. It says, when gamers are in the thick of battle, taking down the big boss or competing in an all-out battle royale, the last thing they want is to put down the controller. As a result, many gamers admitted that they skip showering on most days to keep up with their grind. As per Irish Spring, 1 out of 5 gamers admitted that they skip showers for their gaming needs. Now, I will play this video. Unfortunately, if you're listening to this, that's not helpful. But you can see, they're showing controllers and things with a lot of dirt on it. And the way this works is half the chair is submerged in water. So, hold on, let me get to the point where they show it here. So if you're watching this, you see the screens, you see the chair, but the chair is sort of submerged in this cocoon thing that can fill with water almost like a bathtub. So gamers essentially take a bath without needing to stop gaming. There you go. You can see it here very briefly. Let me pause on this image where sort of the lower half of your body is submerged in water and you can continue gaming. So it's a majestic gaming setup, comes with a transparent dome-shaped plexiglass interior, wide 3-monitor setup that hangs from a scorpion tail-like structure gamers can sit, relax, and enjoy a nice bath while gaming with their controllers. All of this is going to drop on April 29th, the big reveal, National Sense of Smell Day. Jeff, I know you're hot on this one. Ultimate gamer, like greatest gaming chair ever, or just great gaming chair?
I mean, genuine question: is this actually real? Because I can't tell.
It says it's unique. It's a one of one.
Is this
so
like the Onion or something? Yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. I would love to game from a hot tub. I know it's kind of the same concept, but not as good as the gaming bed.
Okay. Say. All right, Lindsay.
This is a marketing gimmick, and it's a very fun one. I mean, I think that this is hilarious. Irish Spring has had historically some pretty good ad campaigns and stuff, and this matches right along up with what they've done before. And I think inviting streamers in is just funny. It's really good brand awareness for them.
Will anyone be offended? Let me add that question in there. Do you think any gamers are offended by this? Jimmy?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, people that care about the environment, that care about wasting water and electricity. I get it's funny, right? It's a funny thing, but I mean, I try not to overuse water or electricity, so that was the first thing I thought was what a waste. But I mean, it's funny. It looks funny. If you're listening, definitely go Google this and look at it. It looks very funny, but I mean, they're not going to sell any of these. This is just a gimmick.
Is anyone buying one if it does go for sale? Anyone in chat? Any of you guys? Do any of you buy?
Kramer from Seinfeld from that one episode when he would get out of the shower.
No one buys one. Adam says, I've had enough internet for today with this story. I'm happy to bring you your daily dose. Tom says water plus electronics. I mean, this is Irish Spring, Tom. Clearly they've thought of everything, I'm assuming, being the experts that they are with electronics. I don't know. I like this innovation. I don't know how you guys are all down on it. Today it seems crazy, but 20 years from now, when we're all sitting in our, gaming hot tubs, we're all going to look back on this moment and go, remember when we said that no one would ever do this? What seems crazy today, when the future comes, then we all feel silly. Greg says, as a parent, this would be a great innovation for young children. Just leave them soaking in the tub. It probably would, and I would think for pets too. All right, guys, that wraps up this week's lightning round. Just a couple of reminders, guys. Don't forget, tell everyone about this live stream. Tell your friends, your family, your colleagues. Every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. If it's your first time here, thank you so much. If you're a regular, thank you guys. So many of you are regulars, and we appreciate you guys coming every week. You have no idea how much it means to us. Make sure to come see us at PAX. If any of you are going, don't be afraid. Reach out in advance even. Let's make sure we see each other at PAX. It would be so much fun to see some of you. Thank you to Jimmy. Thank you to Jeff. Thank you to Lindsay. Don't forget, go subscribe to Jeff and Lindsay's shows, Meta Business and Meta Woman. They're absolutely amazing. If you're not subscribed, you're missing out on a ton of great content. And go subscribe to Business of Esports everywhere. So whether it's on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram. I know we're so close on TikTok also to hitting some pretty key, some pretty big milestones, or some milestones at least, and the growth there has been amazing, and we thank everyone if you follow on TikTok. But TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, you name it, make sure to follow all our socials everywhere. And as always, guys, don't forget, the future is fun. We will see everybody next week.